Hey everyone, today on Tyler Wood Planet, I'm showing you how I built this plant stand. I was recently able to acquire a Monstera Deliciosa cutting, and I was so excited, and I was saying, oh man, this thing's gonna get really big, and I need a cool way to display it. So I looked around online and I saw a lot of different types of plant stands, and I found one that I felt like, oh man, I could build that and it would be really inexpensive. So first things first, let's cover all the materials and supplies you're gonna need in order to build a plant stand. I used my compound miter saw, a jigsaw, my drill with 1/4 inch dowel pins and my dowel bit. I used my sander, some big old clamps at least 15 inches wide, and then for the finish work, stain and glue. And then obviously a 2x2x8 piece of wood. I bought mine at the Home Depot for $2.28, so like I say, this was a pretty inexpensive project. The pot that I'm going to be potting my Monstera Deliciosa in is 10 inches wide and 14 inches tall, so these plants will fit any pot roughly that range. The first thing I decided to do was save myself a little bit of time with my finish work and just sand down my piece of wood before I made any cuts. I'm glad I did this. I wasn't super concerned about getting it completely smooth, but I did want to get rid of any rough edges or potential snags. The first cuts I made were 18 inches long. I measured out with my tape measure and made a mark at the 18-inch mark so I knew where to cut. From there I hopped on my miter saw and made a cut, again 18 inches long. These ended up being the legs of the project. Once I had one, I just kind of put it over to the side and used that to measure the rest of my legs. With the remaining piece of wood, after I got done with my legs, I cut two 11-inch pieces of wood. And so overall for this project, you're gonna need 4 18-inch pieces of wood and 2 11-inch pieces of wood. The first thing I worked on was the middle cross section part of my plant stand. So what I did was I took my 11-inch piece of wood, I found the middle, which was again about 5.5 inches in, lined up the other section roughly where the middle is, and made a mark to show where these pieces eventually are going to overlap. The reason I'm doing this is to mark out where the notch that I need to cut out of this piece of wood will be. And I did this on both pieces of wood, and then on the side of both pieces of wood as well. I measured halfway down again because I want these two pieces to interlock, and so I was mapping out what I needed to cut out in order to give me a notch in the wood so that they could interlock. So I did that on both pieces of wood. Then I hopped on my jigsaw to cut out the section of wood that I had just barely marked out. And what I ended up with was a piece of wood that looks like this. I did this to both sides so that they can interlock. And again, this is going to become the middle piece of the plant stand. Next, I went from corner to corner on my 11-inch pieces, and I just kind of marked out again from corner to corner so that I could find the rough middle of where these are going to attach to the legs. I then grabbed my drill in order to make the holes that are going to be used for the dowels. Next, I needed to find out where my cross sections were going to connect to my legs, so I measured 6.5 inches down, made a mark, and then again found the middle of the wood to make an X, and that is exactly halfway in the wood, 6 inches down. This is where I wanted my dowels to connect with my intersecting middle pieces. And then I gave them one last sand job just to remove any tears or any imperfections that would have been caused by drilling or by cutting the wood. Again, I wasn't super concerned about getting these completely smooth. And this was kind of the fun part. I grabbed a couple of dowel pins, put them into the legs, and just kind of gave it a rough go, and just to make sure that, hey, is this going to look okay? Is this going to work? Again, no glue is being used yet, so it's a little bit wobbly, but you kind of get the idea at this point. So I put it together just to see what it's going to look like. The stain I used is Early American. You can buy that at Walmart or Home Depot or any, just chain that's gonna sell paint. And I began staining my project. As you can see, there's some imperfections of wood, there's some scrapes, there's some cuts. Again, I wasn't super concerned about getting everything completely smooth because that fit the style of my house to have it a little bit roughed up. I grabbed my glue and put my dowel pins into the legs first, and then spread some glue on the cross sections and began to put it all together. Again, this time with glue, and wiped off any excess that may have leaked out from putting it in a press. I also made sure at this point that the legs were completely straight by using a flat surface to kind of press on them and make sure that they were lining up well. Then I allowed the glue to dry. A really important part of this project is to make sure that on your middle sections and your notches that one section is facing up and one is facing down. If you do them both the same direction, they won't interlock, and so you're gonna have to start over or make some more cuts to fix that. Once the glue was completely dry, I unclamped them and ended up with two sections that look like this. A little bit of glue in the middle, and I was ready to assemble my plant stand. Again, making sure that the legs were completely straight or as straight as I could get them. Again, they aren't perfect for me. Alright everybody, so that is it. Please leave a comment, let me know what you think. I think it turned out pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with the results, and I can't wait to see how this Monstera Deliciosa does, how it grows. And I think this is going to be a cool way to display it in my living room. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing, and please leave a comment about what you want to see next on my channel. Alright, thanks everyone, bye.